All right. Okay, we're going to get started then. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to come out here today and talk about the 14-mile watershed 9 key element plan with us. My name's Anna James. I'm the water resource specialist for Adams County Land and Water.
And I'm Kyle Kettner. I'm the new watershed coordinator for the 14-mile watershed 9 key element plan. I'm out of Adams County.
Yep, and we ask that you guys just save your questions towards the end. Those online, if you could just stay muted, we'll take your questions as well at the end.
We're going to start with a brief presentation and roll into town hall style questions. We're going to record as much as we can so that we can edit later footage into kind of a short collage of questions and frequently asked questions there.
Yep, and to just introduce our department, because the 9 key element plan is based out of Adams County Land and Water, we have Dustin Grant. If you could just raise your hand. He is our planning and zoning conservation director. And then we have Chuck, he's our resource conservationist, and Megan is our program coordinator. If you call the office, you're more than likely going to get Megan first, and then she'll direct you to one of us.
So the topic for today here is the 14-mile watershed. And that's in this black boundary here. It is a multi-county watershed. So we're in here in Plainfield. And this is in Washera. Then we've got parts of Portage, Wood, and Adams County. The watershed is everything south of, pretty much everything south of Tower Road to Aspen or County O there. And then from Plainfield through Rome to Lake Pete and Wells. So it's not a particularly large watershed, but it has a lot going on in it.
And then you might be asking yourself, well, what even is a watershed? So a watershed is an area of land that drains into a specific or singular water body. So in the point of the 14-mile watershed, all of the water within the watershed flows into Pete and Well Lake. So watershed includes surface water, lakes, rivers, and streams, and groundwater. So there's water in the soil and then in aquifers as well.
So the 14-mile watershed is unique for a couple of different factors here. Namely, it's very flat. This is uncharacteristic for Wisconsin. We've got a lot of, hills and little rolling hills and features. So it's very flat. It's also very sandy, and the groundwater is very shallow. And this makes it more vulnerable to nutrient overload. So that's where the 9 key element plan comes in. Because of the excess nutrients, having too many nutrients in our groundwater and surface waters. The 9 key element plan is a specific comprehensive plan at the entire watershed scale meant to address the water quality issues. So it involves years of research and information gathering prior to the completion of the plan. It works to define the problem and its causes, as well as providing specific measurable milestones to help address and mitigate the water quality problems we have. So at this point, this plan has been completed in the drafting and writing part, and now we're moving on to the actual implementation. And within that, for us, what that means for 14 mile, the 14-mile watershed is it's addressing both groundwater and surface water. Usually these just address surface water. And then it also includes a really diverse partnership and stakeholders, everything from canneries and producers to individual lake homeowners and property owners in between water bodies and producers. There are currently 51 active in the state, and we're one of those new ones. So.
And then we have 3 main goals on how we would like to address this 9 key element plan. We'd like to understand the 14-mile watershed and its conditions. We're going to look at the watershed as a whole. We're not going to pinpoint, just the upper portions of the watershed or the lower portions of the watershed. We're going to look at it in its entirety. And then we really want to do more education and outreach opportunities like this. And then we want to connect community members such as yourself with conservation. And we're going to go into a little bit of detail in the next slides on these.
So this first component in the plan, the 14-mile watershed plan does have specific measurable objectives, and it also has guidance on how to accomplish those goals. So there's been a lot of work already done even in the drafting of the plan, which includes surface water quality sampling, soil samples were done, shoreline surveys were conducted, but there's a couple of gaps in what we understand yet and how we characterize the watershed. And so we're going to be doing some more work to gain a better understanding of what we're actually working with as a baseline, as a starting point. It's going to involve cropland surveys, stream surveys, as well as expanded soil health testing, and then we've expanding a well water sampling program.
Yeah, and this is where you can take time to already recognize these activities that have been happening within the county and within the watershed. So we already sample surface water quality. The 14 Mile Watershed Alliance has been sampling multiple streams, and then also the tri-lakes, so Lake Sherwood, Lake Camelot, and Lake Arrowhead. They're part of the Citizens Lake Monitoring Network, which is a great citizen science organization, and they're collecting multiple readings from the lake throughout summer months and then winter months as well. We do shoreline surveys through the Land and Water Department. So if somebody who lives on a lake is interested in how they can protect their shoreline in a conservation standpoint, they can call us. Chuck and I will go out. We have a score sheet that we use to look at the shorelines, and we look at it as a whole, right? We're looking at the upland portion of it, the buffer portion, and then the shoreline itself. So if somebody in here is interested in that, let me know. And then after we get that shore sheet put together, then we will write recommendations that are conservation minded. With the well water sampling, that's a new program that's going to roll out in Adams County this coming spring. We're going to release some media on that so you guys can learn a little bit more. But just definitely look for that, especially if you're in the northern townships of Adams County.
So what you can expect here from us as towards what the Cropland Survey is going to look like, a stream survey. The Cropland Survey, we're actually looking for participants and partners who will work with us so we can take some in-field measurements, but otherwise we'll be driving around the county in what's called a Transect Service. It's just a windshield survey where we'll drive around and document current agricultural land use to kind of get a better picture of what farming actually looks like in specific practices within the watershed. And then the stream survey will just involve us and waders mucking about up the stream. So if you see one of our blue trucks with county plates on the side of the road, we're probably doing a survey or we're stuck. Either way, feel free to come by. Feel free to come by and chat with us. We'd love to hear from you and answer any kind of questions you've got while we're out there.
And then for education and outreach, we want our future meetings to look like this. So the plan is housed at Adams County, right? But this plan is for the watershed. It's for the stakeholders within the watershed, which is you guys. So we want to be as transparent with you as what we can along the way. So we're going to host meetings like this where we can update you. Maybe we'll even do small groups meetings where we bring in a specialist. If you're interested in a topic that relates to the watershed, we can bring in a specialist to kind of dig deeper into that on an individual basis. And then we do have a newsletter on that little pink sheet that you got. There's an option if you want to sign up for that newsletter. Then we'll send that out to, just another method to keep you guys updated. And then we want to connect you guys, the community members and the stakeholders, with conservation. And we recognize that this is already happening, right? How many producers are already cover cropping, and how many lakes homeowners are already doing shoreline restoration projects or native plantings. Then through the 9 key element plan, there's options for producers as well in a producer-led watershed group. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about this opportunity yet, but it's kind of new throughout the state. There's quite a few newer groups. In fact, Farmers of the Rosha Creek here in Adams County is a new group that formed this year. They're producers within the Big Rosha Creek and Little Rosha Creek watershed that have come together. They've applied for a grant and now they're funded to host events that really allow them to share their side of the story. We recognize that a lot of the times you guys don't get to do that. You guys don't get to try new innovative stuff, and the producer-led groups really allow you to share your side of the story and then to try new things. We also have grants and innovation through our department. So we can cost share programs like cover crops. We can do nutrient management plans for you guys, but that's not the focus of the 9 key element plan, right? That's just something that we want to let you know we can offer you. And then shoreline restoration. So here we have the Scarlett Huntington Beach Club on Sherwood. That's a 300-foot shoreline restoration that we did. And then I don't know if he's here, but Dave Trudeau through the 14 Mile Watershed Alliance and I worked together to help them get a Wisconsin Healthy Lakes and Rivers grant to implement 3 of these 350 square foot native plantings along their shoreline. This is a great opportunity for the beach club members to get together as a community to do something conservation minded. So they planted a bunch of these native plantings with, native plugs, and with as many people that showed up, we got it done in like 2 hours, which was really fantastic.
So something we want to focus on here, right, is these are just highlights. There's a ton of different practices, including what Shannon's doing with the Windshed project, with putting in wind barriers. There's also other programs we have, including some of this is grant funds to help with soil testing from other sources outside the county as well. We have access to NRCS and DNR surface water protection grants. There's a lot of different ways we can come and approach that. So what we're really looking to do is have engagement with the community, where if you have a resource concern, you have something that you want to work on or that you are concerned about, want to improve, you can bring it to us. And what we'll be doing is helping provide some technical assistance, but also connecting you to these resources in order to help get it done. One of those things we'd like to do when it comes to engagement and really connecting folks is helping to promote the initiation and the startup of a producer-led watershed group specifically for the 14-mile watershed. And that way, that'll be an evolving thing as we go on, since it is producer-led, but that's something we'd really like to be able to promote here in this watershed, since we've seen such great success from it in the Rocha Cree watershed.
Yeah, and if any of you guys have any questions about that, I'm a collaborator for the farmers of the Rocha Cree, so we've been through that process. Tom Schultz is one of our producers for Heartland with the farmers of the Rocha Cree. So if you guys want to ask them one-on-one questions at the end, feel free to pull us aside. And then we'd really like to recognize our partners and our stakeholders. So we have Rachel here from UW Extension. She's been very helpful. And then we have multiple members from 14-Mile Watershed Alliance. This is a great group. They've helped us along the way. I mean, from start to where we're at on this program, and then Tri-Lakes Management. We also recognize that Wisconsin cranberry growers and the Wisconsin potato and vegetable growers are a huge stakeholder within this group. So we want to recognize you guys. And then we have some DNR staff here, and then Adams County and Town of Rome and Wood, Portage, and Waushara County as well.
All right, so we'll open it up to questions. Anna and I are here to be grilled as you desire. I mean, well done, medium rare. We've got a microphone because we're recording this for Zoom, so we can kind of compile it later, like I was saying, to do kind of a FAQ, a frequently asked questions. So if you'd like to ask a question, we just ask that you kind of voice it through the microphone there, so everybody watching on our hybrid platform here can hear you talk. So otherwise, you can also just grab some more food and eat. I mean, there's no prohibition on that, so we'll just be available.
We must have done that good.
Starstruck, I think.
Now, what we recognize that this is a new plan, and obviously this is, if you guys haven't heard about this already, and it's something that's new to you, there is a lot of learning to do along the way. We want to help field those questions that you have, and then keep you as involved. So if you just have any questions about what might this look like for the future, or my future, or we're up for those as well.
Well, I just want to say you guys did a phenomenal job.
Oh, yeah, good question.
Oh, you have a question? No. It's right there.
Oh, do we turn it on?
Not, I don't even know. It's the rest of that, but that's fine. Okay. So I guess my question would be, I did want to say that you guys did a phenomenal job, in case nobody's heard that before. But, and we do appreciate all you've done with us. I represent the 14-Mile Watershed Alliance, so we do appreciate all that you've done. But I guess my question would be, how can we, as property owners, develop a bridge with the farmers and let them know that we want to help them and we want to form a partnership with them?
Well, a really good start is like these events. I mean, you're sitting in a room with at least 12 producers, I think. So, I mean, we've got a lot of folks here from across the watershed, a lot of different producers. So that's sort of the bribe with the food. Actually, we got you all at different tables and we can start talking and, interact and network. And just through this kind of dialogue, while we're kind of talking here up front, there's still that opportunity to meet and greet. And that's a place to start. We need to open dialogue first and foremost, just be willing to talk to each other.
Right, and that's where we can come into play, right? Because me specifically and Kyle as well, we work with lakes people and producers. Use us as a resource, right? And then if you're willing, host events, invite producers. I mean, Farmers of the Roche Cree, we have like 7 events coming up, and some of our producers overlap in 14 Mile Watershed, or maybe some producers from 14 Mile Watershed are going to come to those events. Just get yourself as involved as what you can, right? And don't be afraid to just shake somebody's hand and say hi, right?
I was just gonna mention if somebody wants more information, you might want to find out what
Yeah,
like you play on and
Yeah, well, and we have the website, so the 14 Mile Watershed for the county has a website. And the 14 Mile Watershed Alliance also has a website where you can get some information on there. Either one should usually come up on a search, but you can find ours specifically. There is a handout up front that has the website. And then if you provide your email here, we're also going to follow up with all the resources, connecting you to links to find more of the YouTube video once we summarize the questions. But otherwise, it's tinyurl.com, and then it's just 14 mile typed out, just the words 14 mile at tinyurl.com, and that will get you to the 14 Mile Watershed's website. We do have an interactive map there, so if you're curious, like if you're in the 14 Mile Watershed or not, there's a map where you can type in an address, and then it'll show you where in the watershed you are, or if you're outside of that watershed. And later we'll be posting like the video, newsletters, and feature stories there.
and then I guess another good point to make is this plan is not a regulatory plan, right? This is just us working with you guys to implement conservation within the watershed, really to benefit the community as a whole. And that's where we look at it as an ecosystem, right? People play into the ecosystem, all of the cropland, the eggland, the lakes, we're looking at this as a whole, and we're going to tackle it as a whole. So don't be afraid that we're going to come at you with any, here, you have to do this, no, we're not regulatory with this. And I think maybe some people might have thought that.
Microphone?
I'm just wondering, like, when you go wilding up the Crickway in your way.
Rachel?
And you go between.
Here.
Oh, no, just for the microphone, for the camera. I just want to make sure the Zoom folks can hear us. So.
I'm just wondering if you waddle up Crickways through people's property, will you notify the property owner before you waddle up through there?
Yeah, we're gonna have to set up a survey route and everything, and so we'll be doing that. We'll be notifying all the lake owners, not the lake, well, when we do shoreline, there'll be lake owners will be alerted, as well as riparian, and when we just have the channels and ditches upstream, when we survey those as well, we'll have a survey plan predetermined. So we'll reach out to everybody along those plans, and we'll also publish that, so that way it's like everybody can tell. We'll have another meeting when I start doing the stream survey, particularly because it's not just like driving alongside the road, right? It's a little bit more boots on the ground there. I'll do another meeting or a media brief where we'll kind of discuss what we'll be doing while we're out there. Maybe ask you not to shoot at us, as we're moving up. But then also when we're doing this, the survey will be boots wet. It's in the water because that's where we can walk through those systems. As long as there's water, then we can, stay confined to that. So we won't be entering any property or going onto the shore to look at anything. So.
Yeah, and those stream surveys that won't get rolled out until at least next year. And they take a lot of planning. So hopefully by then we have more relationships with you, Bill, right? So. And then if you guys want during those, if you want to learn the watershed more during those stream surveys or during the Cropland surveys, we always take volunteers. If you just want to come right along with us, feel free to call the office. Mine and Kyle's cards are here. You can take one. Give us a call if that's something that you're interested in.
Excellent questions. Thank you.
Rather than a question, maybe it's more of a suggestion. I would think there would be more efficient ways to survey cropland in the watershed than driving around looking at things. You could get a lot more accurate data quickly. With simple flyover is available rather than driving around. Just a suggestion to take a look at utilizing technology to save yourselves time and expense.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is something that is in consideration. And we have a variety of data sources from satellites to flyover. The USDA runs a Cropland survey every year. There's the National Agricultural Statistics Service. They provide data as well of varying scales and quality. So this is supplemental to help us tie a lot of different data sources together. So, and it's going to be designed that way too. It's not just going to be Cropland survey to see what's there, but we're going to integrate that in a way that we can try to understand the watershed a little bit more. It's not in all these surveys and what we're doing, we're not looking at what is this one person on this land doing. It's all getting turned into a watershed level report. It's all going to be, what does the watershed as a whole look like? We're not going out with any of the well sampling, water sampling, shoreland characterizations, crop. None of that's getting individualized. None of that information will be available at anything smaller than the watershed.
And the only information that would be available if you guys want it is, I know Kyle mentioned we have a story map on the website where we recognize producers and lakefront property owners who are implementing conservation already. If that's something you want to be recognized for and you want to say, yep, I'm doing this to benefit the watershed I live in, let us know. We'll come out, we can take pictures of it and maybe get like a short statement from you on how it's benefited or the steps you took to implement it. And we can upload that to the story map.
I'm just gonna tell a short story. My name is Rick Georgeson. I'm with Packers, Petenwall and Castle Rock Stewards. And we had been working for many, many years with the hopes that we could make a difference in the water quality on the Wisconsin River. And we heard stories time and time again that it's going to take everybody, and you guys will never be able, you'll never be respected by the farmers. You're going to find that it's just going to be a very difficult task. And so there was some fear instilled into our efforts. And we worked with the Farm Bureau, and the member of the Farm Bureau said, well, how many farmers would you like to come to your event? And we said that we had room for 65 farmers. The room held 130. And the Farm Bureau member said, I will get 65 farmers in the room. And we were quite taken by that because we had been informed earlier that it will never work. Well, at that event, we were together at the Tech College in Wisconsin Rapids for a full day, and breakfast, lunch, dinner, breaks, speakers. Not a finger was pointed. There was no blaming that took place. There was nothing but the beginning of a partnership. One farmer came to me and he said, hello, my name is XYZ. And I said, my name is Rick. He said to me, you bring the people to my farm, I'll bring the farmers to your lake. That was the beginning. So we went to the farm, spent a good part of the day there, showing us about the farm, the conservation that was in place, and some of their hopes and aspirations that they were going to do, that they've been at conservation for a long, long time. He says, now it's my turn. I'll bring the farmers to the lake. So 25 farmers showed up at the lake and we went out on pontoon boats. And we showed them what we were, what our concerns were. And it has been a fun partnership every day since then. It was just 3 weeks ago, I took a call from the lead farmer of Mill Creek Watershed. He says, Rick, he says, I've been asked to make a presentation at the Auburndale High School Ag class. He says, can I use the slides that you showed me last year? And I said, absolutely. You can use those slides and show them to anybody, anytime. So it's all about, and I use the word partnership. It's all about, I'm gonna reduce that even to a smaller denominator. It's all about friendships. Let's make friends. We all care. And we can make a big team. We can become a big team. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna find ourselves in new territory that maybe none of us could have got there if we didn't start in this room. And I gotta say thank you for putting this together, for bringing all these people together. This is wonderful.
Thank you, Rick. I think that's really an excellent point. Because I have been asked, I was putting this together, I was asked by somebody like, so by multiple persons actually, so what is the producer's concern with water quality? I mean, why do they care? I'm like, well, they and all their kids and everybody else, we all drink the same water in the watershed. I mean, I live on this end of the watershed north of here, not quite inside of it, but my nitrates are high enough. I've got a water filter on. We're all from the same community in the same watershed. And so the same concerns that you might have living in a rural area north of Colburn with your groundwater is the same issue you'll have with the municipal wells in Plainfield. The water nitrate levels are, everyone's concern. And that's that sort of communication, right? That asking those questions, well, why do you care? Or do you care? So.
Right, not just focusing on the nitrate levels, right? We're looking, I mean, producers and lakefront property owners, you guys value the land that you have more probably than anything else, right? You all have the same common goal of protecting it. Can we just work together and protect that watershed? Like Kyle said, it's the same watershed that you all are living in. I mean, you all are here for a reason. It's so much easier to just join hands and work on it together than than the other option, but.
The other thing I was gonna say, piggyback on what Rick said is, I was a person who came from the city, so that's where I was born and raised, and then I moved out to the suburbs, and now I love living here. This is what I enjoy, is being in nature. But one of the things that he said really struck me, and that's for people like me to get out and to learn what the farmers are doing, because I had never been on a farm. And then I went on a farm tour and I loved it. I absolutely loved every part of it. So and I had to go kicking and screaming. It wasn't one of those things that I was looking forward to doing, but when I went, I loved it. I really appreciated all the hard work farmers do and all the wonderful things they produce. So that was a big eye-opening experience for me as being a city girl, coming out to nature, beautiful nature. So I encourage anybody who's from a lake to just go on a farm tour. I mean, those are phenomenal. They really are.
Rachel.
It was just last Thursday night that I attended an event up in Edgar, just west of Wausau. And it was a group like this. They have, they're a couple steps ahead of this group. There was probably 70 to 80 people in attendance. And we met at an orchard. And the folks that owned the orchard hosted and provided, a meal was provided. And we had various speakers throughout the evening. In fact, Rachel was at the event. And I met a young farmer having a beer prior to the beginning of the event. And he said, I'm 23 years old. He says, we milk 500 cows. And he says, I'm here to learn about no-till and cover crop. He said, because I understand this is the way of the future. And he said, so I took a 40-acre plot 3 years ago and I no-tilled it. And He says, I had an okay crop at 40 acres the first year. But the second year it wasn't quite as good, and the third year was about the same as the second. And so he says, I'm here to see what I can learn. What else can I do to make this a success? And I said, of course, I don't have the answer, I'm just kind of there trying to help things along. And I said, well, it's this kind of a group where you can get some of those answers, because everybody in this, all the farmers in this room in that particular area, that's what they're there for. That's the conversation. And I felt to myself that that's the only conversation that I have tonight. It was worth it, because this young farmer was all by himself and he didn't know where he fit. And I hope it made some steps. So it's that kind of stuff that we see take place. And then, for those of us that live on the lake, there's all kinds of boat rides available for anybody that wants to go.
Note for for producers, that's one of the things that we can do if we get producer-led watershed group going here, or even beforehand, if anybody who's running agricultural production or has an operation, in the watershed wants to do a farm tour or a day on the farm, we could do that. I also can, touch base with the NRCS and get a soil scientist come in. We could do a soil pit. Everybody can kind of see how that actually interacts and what's going there, kind of get our hands dirty. There's a lot of different activities and things we can do, but Anna and I can't just, organize them for the watershed and hope you guys come so much as what we'd really like to do is, get that from the ground up, really empower everyone in this room to be a part of that process. So on those sheets, we have, just room there. If you have an idea, if you want to do something specifically, if you'd like to do an event as watershed coordinator, I mean, that's my priority. I'm locked in with a grant for at least 3 years. And this watershed, the 14-mile watershed, is my only job. This and making this work and making events happen and helping to connect people is my main priority. So, if you want to do something big, let's shoot for the moon.
Any other thoughts?
After these first couple of meetings that you guys have set up, what's your game plan for this summer? Is there anything that's set up, things that we can participate in?
Yeah, so other than your meetings that you guys have set up right now, what's your game plan for this summer? Are there other events, things that you guys kind of have planned? I know you're looking for ideas and suggestions, but just so that I can kind of prepare myself on how I can participate within the group.
Right. So there's a couple of options coming up that the county isn't organizing quite yet, but that we're branching off from with the big Rocha Cree and Little Rocha Cree watershed producer-led watershed group. They're having a couple of events. And that calendar we will be sharing as well, linking everybody in on the newsletter. There's several days, and I don't want to get them wrong because we're still pinning those down. I'm going to be putting together later this summer small groups. We'll probably meet on a Saturday morning. I'll bring donuts and coffee, and we'll bring somebody in, maybe from the UW, maybe a local producer, somebody who wants to just chat, and we'll just come together and hang out for an hour and talk about a specific topic. So that's something in the works right now, because we're still doing early setup for this watershed implementation plan. I'm going to spend a lot of time after these meetings doing field work and boots on the ground. Something I really, really want to do is I want to spend most of my summer coming out to visit folks. So if you have something you want to do, or even what's more is my background, soil science. I have a master's in soil science. My undergrad's in biology. Not a farmer. I grew up next to a farm, and so there's a lot for me to learn. So something I'd really, really like to do and to be involved, right, is to just go out to somebody's place and see how it's run. What's it look like, boots on the ground? And then we'll build those relationships from there and see what kind of events we can pull together in the fall. But for now, it's going to be very much me getting to know you folks and then letting things evolve from there. There is the next big upcoming event. Well, that I'm going to be involved is going to be the State of the Lakes from the Rome area. They've got an event that the 14-mile Watershed Alliance is hosting, and that's specifically their event to talk about what they're doing on the lakes and some of that. So that'd be a really great opportunity for producers to come in. Right now, we don't have anyone involved with us to do something with producers in the watershed. And that's something that we're really looking for. We have some relationships with, Big Rocha Cree and some producers there, but we'd really like to grow that here. So,
Yeah, and like I said, if you want to talk to any of the producers that are part of that group already, I'm just gonna name drop here because I know you guys are gonna know them, right? So we have Heartland Farms, we have Jeremy and Tom with Heartland Farms, we have Andy Dirks with Coloma Farms, and we've got Jeff Floyd with Signature Farms, and we also have Heather Gayton with Sambria Artisan Farm. She's a smaller artisan producer. And then Alicia Pavelski is with us as well, representing the Horizon Cranberries. We know it's easier for people to talk to, somebody who's like-minded or in the same community as them. That group is implemented already. Use them as a resource, right? If you want to call me, I will get you their numbers and connect them with you. If you want to show up to the events, you're more than welcome. If you want to show up to the meetings and just see what kind of a group like that is about, you're more than welcome. Just reach out to any of those people or to me even, and we'll definitely get you some more information.
and I'll be putting together and putting out some more information once we have things put more together. Again, I'd like to come with a full agenda for the summer, but I just came into the position in November and I'm still playing some catch up with getting everything under my boots. But I wanted to bring everybody here, on board as early as possible to start that up. So it'll definitely pick up more with specific engagement opportunities later this summer and then over winter into next spring.
Yep, and I have a countywide, my position is countywide too, as to where Kyle is just watershed focused. I do a lot of water sampling throughout the county. I do stream sampling, lake sampling. I'll be heading the well testing program. If that's something you're interested in, reach out to me. If you want to come along for a day, ride in the boat with me and we'll go sample some water. Or Phil, he does some of the sampling for the tri-lakes. We're always willing to take people with us if that's something you're interested in.
Oh, and if you want to get really involved, Anna plugged it earlier, but the survey, some of the surveying I'm doing this summer is minimum 2 people to do it. So I'll be driving around unless, I can't hold the computer and drive and do the map at the same time. So that would be something if you really want to get involved, or even just, sit there and I can listen to your life story, whatever you want to do. I'm your captive audience, that's my job here. So better than Audible,
Any more questions?
I just wanted to say you introduced the farmers, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. We'll just start out super simple, since we have a couple members from 14 Mile Watershed Alliance. If you guys just want to stand and introduce who is part of 14 Mile Watershed Alliance.
We don't want to put people on the spot, but since you asked, Right, absolutely.
And then we'll also recognize Packers. If you guys want to stand.
And Packers is you're specifically, I don't think we've introduced what Packers is involved.
Yeah.
You guys are connected here with Pete Well, and that's where 14 Mile drains into. So that's the specific connection here.
Yeah, and then if you guys are a producer and if you don't want to be identified as a producer, that's fine. But if you just want to stand up and tell us who you are and then what you guys are growing or what your farm kind of looks like. I know it might be a wide variety, we realize. But yeah, if you want to.
Feel ready.
Yeah, go Tom.
I'll start. I'm Tom Schultz. I'm one of several farm managers from Heartland Farms. And as Kyle led on to, we are about a year into now starting the Farmers of the Rocher Cree producer-led watershed project, which not only includes the big, but the little Rocher Cree.
Sure does.
Correct you from earlier. But I have to say, for the 14 Mile project here, this is maybe a very unique opportunity. Ourselves getting together and getting organized. It's been a year-long process just to be recognized by the state, which has only happened here in the last couple of months. With Anna and Rachel helping along with the 2 others. But for this to have Kyle as a dedicated go-to person to try and pull it all together, I think is awesome. There are a lot of opportunities for that. I think you should take full advantage of it if you can.
I think that's a good point, Tom, is that it took a year to get the producer-led watershed group started. That's with very active and very engaged producers who are already kind of starting with that cutting edge in their own private industry. In this case, I'm here for 3 years at least, right? That's a guarantee. But this is a 10-year plan. I mean, just this first part of it's a 10-year plan. So the county's committed to a very long-term whole system approach, right? We're not doing just symptoms, but we're doing the root causes of things. So.
Another producer around would like to introduce himself.
Hi, this is Scott Bordeaux. I'm president of the Packers. We call ourselves Pingwell and Castle Rock Stewards. We started our organization back in 2007 as a citizens group. And, you know, take these guys up on their challenge. We've gotten as far as we've gotten by leaning on people in these positions. And as they indicated, you know, they got to hear from us in the watershed on what to focus on, and they'll get it done. So the one question I have, Kyle, is if you're doing a really good job after 3 years, how do we keep you on board?
Oh, well, that's up to, you know, that's up to funding streams and Dusty, and you got to write some letters and, you
Okay.
know, I take chocolates or beer. I mean,
So that's from the county?
yeah, that's to the county. That's my position is currently through the county. So as long as they keep me around, I'll be around. So.
Thanks, guys.
Anyone?
That's Adams County. Then we have the same going on in Woods County with the county conservation there. We've got the same going on in Portage County. The conservationist there, UW Extension. Same going on in Marathon County. That's where I talked about the event last week. So you see, and let's see, over to Lemonware, Juneau County. This energy is alive and the wheels are turning. You might say all over the state in the watersheds, and these kind of partnerships are really developing. And it's, I've already said it, but I'm gonna repeat it. It's turned out to be very successful and a lot of fun. So glad to see everybody here.
So it's getting, I mean, we've kept you captive with food, luckily, at least for about an hour here, hour and a half. So at this point, we've got those forms. If you have more questions, I'm going to be here until 7. If you just want to chat, we also have reps from Portage County Land and Water here. Jen and Tracy are here. And then Shannon is here from the Central Wisconsin Watershed Project. So if you see plantings along the highways, that's usually them. And then we've got ourselves from the county. Rachel's here from UW Extension. And we've got Scott in the back hiding there. So yeah, and Tracy Hames, yeah.
Yeah, feel free to just pull aside if you want. If not, help yourselves to more sodas or more sandwiches. There's some left over, and definitely more desserts because Kyle cannot take them. His wife would be pretty upset.
Why'd she get me a shopping list? What are you talking about?
Thank you guys, everyone, for being here. Stop sharing. Nobody online. We did not. Just me.
Hopefully I recorded at least.
Are you gonna take over?